talking so much about this matchup, and it's so pivotal that Kikis gets a winning jungle matchup right here. The big ban we have to look at now is Sejuani. Amazing has been so good, so consistently on that champion.
Yeah, Vitality on red side, they selected it. They love to counter pick specifically to guarantee that good matchup you already mentioned, Ender. The Ryze ban here, we were talking about this. Maybe Vitality are the ones banning it in game 1 because it can be first pick by Schalke, but they're respecting it so much.
Yeah, it's such a surprise because we thought this was going to be a red side ban throughout the tournament, but we also know that Vitality want to focus out Vander's champion pool. We already saw the Braum. I think an All-Star could fit very well right here, but they still need that Sejuani.
Well, if they leave it open, it's because they are fine playing whatever carry they want against a tank jungler, and that is clearly what they're saying here. This Sejuani has been the #1 pick for Amazing.
But the Shen support for Vander was the next best option back in the series against Splice.
And it's one to highlight, they don't have to pick Sejuani because we don't expect Kikis to play it. So they can still wait with the champion unless Kikis really wants to surprise us and play Sejuani himself.
Yeah, that would definitely be a very big surprise. The other place we have to look is this Poppy, because it is a flex between both top lane and jungle at the moment where they can really wait and hold off on what they want to pick.
So we looked at some of the solo queue champs Amazing had been practicing on his main account, and Skana was actually one of them. Now we get it in the first game, not Sejuani again, which has been his #1 pick because he doesn't want to lock himself into a tank.
Here's the thing though, I think that Sejuani still is the best champion for him, but I think Schalke are playing a bit of mind games. This is still the first game in the best of 5. If they don't put value on the Sejuani now, they could leave it up later in the series for them to grab.
Definitely agree with you. I'm a little bit unhappy the draft is so quick because there's actually so many things to talk about. Also about how both teams have stylistically tried to draft and play. The Ezreal instead of a Kai'Sa pick coming in for Schalke here on the bottom side. It is the comfort champion for Upset. It is the, hey, you don't actually need to play around me. You can leave my lane, Vander. Well, he's potentially on the Shen support, so it makes a lot of sense. Because we know he's going to be playing against Varus, which is most likely going to be a very strong lane Vitality can play around. So this Ezreal here is just pure safety.
Well, it's the 10th time Upset has played that champion. And over on the other side, by the way, Kikis on his sort of signature trundle at this point, still undefeated on that pick. 4-0 in the 10 games that he has played with Vitality. In Phase 2, we've seen LeBlanc and Morgana taken off the pool, so a huge number of support bans already removed off the table.
It's definitely true. Now, for Vitality, compositionally, we look at this team to draft heavy engage on their side. Right now, they have some pretty good tools. The Poppy can come in from a flank, you have a Pillar, you have the Chains of Corruption as well, but a Galio for Jizuke could be the pick that sort of rounds it all together, something that can go into a side lane and impact throughout the map.
And we already know, or we expect it to be the Poppy top lane and then the Trundle jungle. Not looking at Jack's role playing Trundle support on his side. So obviously they can still wait with their mid lane choice and grab the support here, and then actually counter pick for Jizuke later on in the draft once they see what Nukedog is playing. Because we know Nukedog is one of those players who loves to get counter pick on his side, especially because he plays 20 different champions, so you never really know what he's going to bring out.
And the last time these two teams faced off, actually, with Attila on the Varus, they played Varus Thresh in the bottom lane. If you're saving counterpick for support, actually the Thresh is banned away already, so they're really waiting to make sure they get the best possible matchup down here, because in theory, you still don't know if the Shen is going top or bottom.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing with the Trundle, right? It could still go down to support if they want to save another pick for Kikis once they see the full draft. Cassiopeia coming in here prepared against the Galio that was not banned away by Schalke despite being the most played champ from Jizuke.
And I think for Schalke, what they're really drafting right here are some good disengage tools. You know Vitality are going to run straight at your face. What is the best pick against that? Something like the Cassiopeia that can just stun you in your tracks and turn these fights around and put Schalke in a favorable position.
And as expected as well from Schalke, there's a lot of good scaling on their side. The Maokai top lane, Cassiopeia, Ezreal coming in as the 2 carries. There's a lot of ways for them to play late game teamfights, which has been the way for Schalke to win these games here, especially against Splice in the quarterfinals, where Vitality is a lot more about the aggression. And that's a Kled now. Suddenly, I'm starting to look at potentially the Trundle moving down and then Poppy jungle again.
I mean, it could in theory be a Poppy support as well. We've seen that way back in the past. Now, I actually would advocate for a Poppy support here. Having the steadfast presence to cancel out a Shen taunt is such a powerful tool to disengage from that pick.
I think it could make a lot of sense. Obviously, if it is a Poppy jungle, we saw Kikis play this already, the famous Yamato Cannon quote where he said it was a huge mistake. Let's see if that's true or not, depending on if they still swap these two around. They have a lot of flex choices on the side of Vitality, but the Kled pick, it is a surprise. Cabochard is known for playing a lot of different things, and it looks like it's Poppy's support.
Now, 2 times during the split, Cabochard has played the Kled before, and it's right in his wheelhouse. His best champions have been Jarvan and Gragas. We're talking very easy to execute, immediate, hard engage from the top lane. The Kled is the best when it comes that. He presses R, and the whole team runs straight at you.
Yeah, that was kind of the one thing they were missing. The guy who runs in first, and then you have follow-up from the Varusol, the Trundle coming in, of course the Poppy. The Kled will be that follow-up, or sorry, the main engage from Vitality.
Oh, this is going to be so exciting to watch the combo of the charge into that heroic entrance. Obviously, the Poppy final position with Jack Troll. How complicated will that be in future drafts, knowing it's Vizicachi's top player? We'll find out in a moment or two. Huge shout out to the Golden Hornets here in Berlin. There are 25 plus fans from France who have traveled here to support Team Vitality and to cheer them on. And of course, they are sort of the favorites coming into this game, albeit amongst the professional scene. The fans at home actually voted and predicted Schalke to win this match, and we have to see who's going to show up in game number 1.
This is a match that has split so many different analysts. Some people say Vitality should crush, others say Schalke can stall out the late game. It truly is a battle of styles between these two organizations.
And we just heard the coach of the split from Schalke, Andre, saying coming into this game, they were looking a lot at the early game. They had to control Kikis. That was what they practiced towards. He's on his Trundle here in the first game. Amazing. Did not go for his Sejuani despite it being left open. He wanted a champion that could duel a bit more. Obviously, Skarner will build tanky later, but in the start of the game, he's tough to 1v1.
Yeah, and of course, Fisher, you talked about the strength in the early game. Contrast the strength of Vitality's early game to Schalke's. If you look at all of the games from week 6 to week 9, 10 games played, look at the goal difference at 15. Schalke, minus 100, Vitality plus 2,000.
Exactly. Schalke are totally fine going even or even losing the early game just a bit because they go for scaling so often in their draft. There's nothing different in their approach today up against Vitality, who we know are all about getting early leads and snowballing them ridiculously.
If you wonder why we picked from week 6 and forward, because that's when Kikis joined the lineup and started playing with Vitality. That was obviously almost a new team suddenly we got to watch.
Now, I have to point out something interesting here because Jizuke started with the Red Sweeper at level 1, donated a ward kill over to Cabochard. That's going to give him an earlier level 2 in this lane matchup that should go very far in the favor of Kled.
And he's running Predator on this Galio here. He's screaming push and roam, which is the Jizuke playstyle.
And look at Kikis now coming into this top lane. He did walk over a ward, but Vizicachi's still playing very far forward.
Oh, this is so scary. We're only 2 minutes into the game. Cabochard flashes forward with that bear trap on a rope. Here comes Kikis, 200 HP, a couple more shots, and first blood Vitality.
And the whole thing is just planned from the draft. Start red buff, instantly path top. Maokai is very low mobility. He cannot get away.
And this is classic Kikis style. When they played against Schalke, it's all about ganking and camping this top lane matchup to make sure that Cabochard can just run away with the top lane. As Jizuke actually gets pretty frisky here in the river against Amazing.
Yeah, Jack Troll's been able to move, but so is now Attila. Attila forced to flush to safety if he can. Oh, this is so scary. Jack Troll manages to come in. I didn't see the solo kill land. Amazing takes down Jizuke and Attila, flashless.
Yeah, we ended up watching 2 fights right there. In the bottom lane, Vander flash taunted onto Attila and forced his flash, while Amazing was just running Jizuke down. Like, Jizuke didn't even get to flash away.
Yeah, Jizuke just took a fight against a Skarner that was on top of his Spire. That's something you definitely do not want to do, and ends up paying the price for it.
But it's very important that Schalke are matching some of the aggression in the early game. We've already seen now Vitality are looking for fights left and right. They have a Predator Galio who literally just wants to roam and fight. This is the gank up top that was set up very nicely with CC from Kled and a pillar. But then we get the fight in the river.
Yeah, this is the sort of head scratcher right now because Jizuke gets mid lane priority. The call is to come down here and stop Amazing on the Scuttle Crab. It looks like Jack Troll wants to roam up, but then Jizuke takes the fight without the rotation of his bottom lane and is just hung out to dry here in a 1v1 that goes horribly awry.
In the moment he actually got stunned, he realized, I'm gonna die here. Jack Troll didn't really know, should I run up and help Jizuke, should I stay with my AD carry? He was kind of forced to pick almost a bad decision no matter what. Mid lane gank.
Oh, here comes Amazing. There is a flash for Jizuke. The stun manages to land. Here comes the taunt as well, and Jizuke very, very steely-eyed, holds on to 100 hit points. But this game, the junglers have already become impactful everywhere across the map. Take a look at this matchup. It's what we talked about. Kikis versus Amazing. And there's some of their stats on screen.
Yeah, and you look at this, and this looks like a massively favored Kikis matchup. First in kills plus assists at 15, first in gold difference at 15 as well. But it's actually Amazing who is matching him in this early game aggression, repeat ganking onto this mid lane to try and get his carry ahead.
Yeah, because while his stats do not look great, actually, let's see what happens with Jizuke. That's a roam topside Predator.
Oh, there's so much damage available to them with their violent tendencies. Cabo shot lands the bear trap on a rope, and despite dodging some damage, another easy kill.
Vitality are so good at controlling the top side of the map. It's not just Kikis, mind you, it's Jizuke with Predator boots on the Galio, the big change up here to make sure Cabochard gets a massive advantage.
And now you gotta almost feel bad for Amazing, because we were talking about the jungle matchups being the one deciding, you know, where will the ganks happen, who ends up snowballing. But then suddenly it's the Predator Galio also roaming out to top lane to get another kill over to Vitality. But before with the stats we just saw, Amazing, while he's very low in terms of kill plus assist in the early game, as long as he gets just 1 or 2, specifically for Nuke Duck, it can be so impactful for Schalke because they need to stop Jizuke from just leaving the lane like we just saw here.
But that's the difficulty for them, is because usually Schalke take the backseat. Vitality are super aggressive in how they play. So right now, Amazing trying to catch out a rotation from Jizuke is a good plan, because you'll see so often Vitality diving top lane when the minion wave crashes in. Cabochard is trying to set that up.
Oh, I don't know if Amazing realizes he has spotted out Jizuke leaving. There's 3 members up at the top and no level 6s yet.
Yeah, Jizuke spotted him also right there when he walked in. It's so hard for Nuke Duck, however, because when Jizuke leaves, normally what you want to do is you want to push in mid and then deny him all the minions. But Cassiopeia pushes fairly slow at this point in the game. She needs a bit of time, and Jizuke, he's fast.
That being said, he has denied quite a few minions. Actually, Amazing getting around here, trying to fight over control here in the river.
All right, Kikis manages to get the chomp down. Here comes Nuke Duck. Flash over the wall for the Petrifying Gaze. Twin Fang into Twin Fang. The Grand Entrance lands down, and it's already a kill. Jizuke's trying to turn this one around. A Justice Punch onto Amazing, and the Wings of War managed to pick one for one.
Jizuke is right there to try and back it up, but I love it. Schalke have come to fight here in the early game.
He's looking for more, man. He's going straight up. He's not even going back to his mid lane yet.
Oh, this is going to be so uncomfortable for Schalke. There's so much action. 5 kills by 6.5 minutes already. Vizicachi doesn't have access to his ultimate, and Jizuke, they're going to think about, I really thought they were going to dive. If there was any team that would, it would be them.
We have to highlight, if we just slow down a little bit, that once Vitality force a couple of fights, they never stop. But that can also be their downfall, because they look so often for these fights here, like the trade from Kikis that actually ends up costing his life.
And you use big cooldowns too. Look, Jizuke actually ticked over to level 6 at the very start of that fight, which ends up getting him back in here so he can trade kills. As Amazing goes bot.
All right, Jack Troll and Attila still all the way forward. There's no flash on Attila. Let's follow him if he can escape. That's an arcane shift forward. Attila is already down. Amazing. 2, 1, and 1.
Amazing has played fantastically so far in this early game, knowing when and where to beat. First, camping in that mid lane, making a few of those plays work, and then punishing this bottom lane from Vitality.
Hold that thought, it's time
Wait
to
a second.
Charge! Cabochard runs down Nuke Duck. You know what? This game is going to be a bloodbath.
We need more play-by-plays in here.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fighting. Nuke Duck used his flash aggressively to kill Kikis, and then he was sitting mid, and Kled could just go from lane and kill him. They're onto the turret. Amazing is here to try and defend.
All right.
So crazy here. Vitality working as a team, making all these plays work. First it's Jizuke roaming to the top side, then it's Cabochard coming back to pay him the favor. Well, Amazing has to do all the work for himself to get all 3 lanes ahead.
And right now, the Vitality bot lane, they have one job, is try not to die. You're most likely gonna get ganked again at some point. Vander might try and taunt you and actually kill you. While Kikis has focused around mid and top lane, especially Cabochard has been a big target for Vitality. He's done really well so far in the game. Let's see the play once again. This is a no-flash mid lane.
And it's a recall bait too. Jizuke is waiting for Nuke Duck to step forward and cancel that one out. And Kikis and Cabochard so good on the comms there, know exactly when to show up for the kill.
So Vitality, 4 kills to Schalke's 3. They've got themselves a 400 gold lead. If our observers can switch over to gold differences between the lanes, you'll notice a lot of that is in Cabochard's hands. He's up roughly 900 gold. In the mid lane, it is even. It's about 500 for upset over Attila, but the jungle is pretty even for now.
It is very, very true. I think Amazing has done what he could in this early game. He was the big focus against Kikis, but it's not really just been a 1v1. It's been really all of Vitality's top side forcing plays. Kikis is looking in the jungle. We'll notice Amazing is near the Grump, and Galio ulti is ready in a few seconds. It's not there yet.
He's getting ready for this play. Got the pillar.
Let's take a look. Insta flash there from Amazing. Doesn't want to run the risk of anything going his way. Of course, with Jizuke having that ulti available. Now, Chachi was sniffing his way down, and he's backed out.
Every time that ultimate comes back up from Jizuke, that's when you'll see Kikis walk into the enemy jungle and look to find Amazing. Because we're at this point, level 6 Trundle, where he can just 1v1 almost every champion in the game. And will surely look to do that against Amazing.
Yeah, the only risk is, do you walk into the Skarner and he ults you and you can't actually kill him in time, and then you get collapsed on by Nuke Dog or Visachachi and you end up dying yourself.
But that's the thing. Right now, both solo lanes for Vitality have pretty big advantages when it comes to pushing waves and being the first to collapse.
Okay, once again, Jizuke falls back, but that's kind of the thing, and this is going to be a bigger and bigger thing for Schalke. The Cassiopeia can really win trades hard. Jizuke is a roamer. He's not a 1v1. In this case here, and Nuke Dog is far up in CS. He's either frozen the lane and denied waves, or he's pushed it into the turret. And as long as he can keep trading against Jizuke, he might also be able to leave and match what Jizuke is doing with this Predator Galio.
Well, plus 25 CS for now is a gigantic advantage, and it's so exciting seeing Schalke kind of matching that aggression in the early game. We talked so much about how it was one of Vitality's strengths and how Vitality could unlock this entire series by just running over Schalke in the early game. And I'm quite excited to see how this will transition into the next few minutes of play.
Yeah, the mid game becomes really exciting because I think that's when Vitality can actually look to spread up the map. So often we're used to seeing them running down the mid lane, trying to get an advantage that way. But Cowboy Shard has a massive advantage up in the top lane. Jizuke can still clear waves and has the ability to rotate with the hero's entrance in order to shove these waves and then collapse to find those big team fights they want.
And that's always a funny thing about how Vitality plays. We feel like there's two ways to try and execute comps. They either aim for this like very hard engage, easy to execute team fight, or they go for something that can split push. Like, these are really the two big Vitality comps they draft.
And the best comps that Vitality make are when they can do a little bit of both. You still have the hard engage with something like a Kled, but hey, a Kled still works great in a side lane up against a Maokai. You can build up big advantages, and of course the Galio as well is sort of a signature Jizuke pick in the second half of the split, in the sense that he can both split push and team fight.
Capuchat is looking towards the mid lane. Not finding anything just yet, at least. It looks like he's not going to force a fight because Schalke are near their own turret. It is very good, though, to see Schalke actually keep up with the aggression, because when we looked at this series, we felt like game one would actually tell us a lot. Can Vitality just draft an early game comp and just run Schalke down and just destroy them? Then it feels like a very one-sided series. But if Schalke can match that early game, we suddenly look at a lot of close games, and potentially 5 of them.
Exactly, especially when you have something like a Cassiopeia on your back. The Ezreal as well, you can build up large advantages, but you don't want to lose any of those small wins. Right there, Upset lost his cleanse, of course, to the duo of Attila and Jacktroll, and we'll have to be a little bit more careful playing forward in the coming minutes.
And we'll find out whether or not it's impactful. Small pause there. It looks to be on the Schalke side.
I saw Upset turn around instantly after the little fight against the Varus, but obviously can't 100% figure out, based on him turning around, what's happening.
Exactly. I mean, look, Chain of Corruption connects near insta-cleanse into that Arcane Shift. We will get confirmation from the production team as well as the onstage officials in just a few minutes, but I'm going to go back. It's very difficult to not get swept up in the excitement because there is so much going on and so many decisions to break down. Deficio, you talked about the speed at which the draft played out. Well, that speed continued in-game. And are you impressed by what you've seen from Schalke? Because the expectation was that this is what Vitality were going to do. I'm surprised to see Amazing punishing and also maybe relishing in some of the chaos.
I mean, it makes me even more excited for the series that Schalke are dancing with Vitality in the early game. They're not saying, you know what, we will actually just draft full scaling and accept that we will probably fall down a couple of thousand goals, but then we trust that in the late game we will get back, which is something some teams will try and do. But in this case here, not picking Sejuani, grabbing a Skarner that can be more proactive in terms of fighting, was a good change, and Amazing has done well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of credit is due to the actual coaching staff, because we saw against Splyce, they sort of played to Splyce's game. They were willing to take it late. They knew Splyce wasn't going to abuse them in the early game, so they can draft for the super, super late game. Now, against Vitality, they're changing that strategy to try and meet them in this super chaotic early game and get on that same level.
Well, let's see who's going to come out in the advantageous position. I do have an update for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. The pause has come in from the Schalke side. Upset has claimed that he did not see the Varus ultimate, Chains of Corruption. So league officials are going to investigate his point of view. We have an application called Shadowplay, which will allow them to see exactly what Upset has seen. And we will get back to you once they've taken the time to do that. And in the interim, we can continue talking. I think I want to pick up what you were just talking about, Ender. You mentioned the draft, you mentioned the champions. I will ask production team to throw up the picks and bans graphic in a moment. And, talk me through what you like, some of the adaptations. We were really heavily expecting that Sejuani. The Skarner, it threw my eyebrows up, but I'm not concerned anymore after seeing the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, what I really like here is the hard focus on support champions from Jack Troll. This is actually a fairly large playmaker on the team. He doesn't get a lot of talk thrown his way because everyone else is willing to make so many crazy plays, but his Rakan has been fantastic. He's played the Thresh before as well, as really liked that champion recently. So trying to take him off those top tier options and pushing him onto a flex pick, the Poppy support that we haven't seen be super impactful just yet, is a good move.
It's true, and obviously you also steal that away from Visichachi, which is one of the main things you want to do when you play against Schalke. Take notes, Splyce from your game 5.
Too soon, dude.
I have to say, we called it in the draft there, and then Poppy carried. But another thing is, some criticism towards Schalke during the split was they were too reliant on a few specific picks. And it was obviously the Alistar Braum for Vander, it was the Poppy top lane for Chachi, and it was the Sejuani. In this draft, they only had the option of drafting Sejuani, but they didn't want to because of Kiki's counter picks. So they didn't actually get any other than the Ezreal. And the Ezreal, I feel like, left there. This is our number 180 carry station when Kai'Sa entered in the Splyce series.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Again, it goes back to this idea of they know the games are going to be faster against Vitality, so they want earlier power spiking AD carries with this Ezreal pick. Kai'Sa probably gets left in the dust against someone that plays so aggressively like this Vitality squad.
All right, let's see whether or not Vitality can keep it up. I have just heard, ladies and gentlemen, that league officials have determined that the spell was visible, it was seen. So we will be jumping back into game in a moment or two, and we will continue from this current state. So Upset used that cleanse to escape with his life, and we'll be jumping in to pick this back up. So, Deficio, how do both of these teams want to play the next few minutes? We're 12 minutes in game time. We're in an even state as far as the gold is concerned. There's one extra kill on the Vitality side, but that's balanced out by some of the CS advantages accrued across Schalke. So who do you want to see from either team?
I mean, I think looking at mid lane, so much is on Nukedog at the moment. We know Jizuke wants to leave this lane and most likely go top again and get another kill for Kapashot, but if Nukedog can actually take a good trade against the Galio and force him fairly low, he can't do that. And then he needs to be able to follow him to the side lane and at least counter gank. Try and be there once the initial fight is over and get a return kill, because Jizuke, he's already top now.
Yeah, this is sort of the dive you were talking about earlier, where Jizuke will just roam when the wave crashes in, and Chachi's very low.
He is indeed. He's got ultimate available to him. Nature's Grasp will buy some time. There's the flash. Sand United coming down by Vander, but here comes Amazing as well. There's a Chachi still alive. Jizuke's in trouble. He's taken down. So far it's a 1-for-1. What can Amazing do? Kapashot is forced to dismount, and Claire is looking for Skarl. They may want to go again.
Jack Troll actually flashed interrupted a Shen, so that's why they can fight anymore.
All right, there's an Impale available. Tower is already tagging Kikis. It's another 1-for-1, and here comes Skarl. Kapashot remounts.
Kapashot's getting all the kills. That was a good attempt from Amazing to save underneath that tower. It ends up being a 2-for-2 overall, but it's still Vitality with the pressure on that turret after that proactive play.
As we mentioned earlier before the pause here, once the Vitality machine starts rolling and they start forcing fights, they never stop. This was a very risky tower dive. It relied on Jack Troll also flash interrupting Vander's ulti. Otherwise, it would have been 3 Schalke players there defending.
And that would have gone so differently had Shen actually entered into the fight. Now, you'll notice Jizuke actually has Hero's entrance here, but I believe he's the first one to pick up turret aggro with the taunt. So he never gets to use it to save someone underneath this turret. Of course, if you were watching on the minimap, there was that interrupt from the pop that was so fantastically done. And then once you're underneath this tower, Amazing's actually in a really tough position where he has to find a 1v2.
Luckily for him, there's no minions initially when Kikis walks in, so he gets the tower aggro instantly, takes a couple of extra shots. And then he ends up going down. Here's the interrupt in the bottom lane. Obviously for Vander, you don't want to do this out in the river, but he needed to do it instantly.
And of course, Jack Troll did commit the flash to that, sitting on the Hex Flash. As we continue, 14 minutes in-game. There have been 11 kills in 14 minutes. The most kills in the summer split by 15-minute mark was 15. So we are getting so close to that value, and the action is not slowing down, which is a surprise to me, because generally, game ones in best of fives have been slower, feeling one another out, trying to figure your opponent out. This time, they're just going hand.
Yeah, when Vitality are in the game, they're not gonna slow down any bit. Now, Jizuke didn't use that ultimate. I want to point that out because Vander did. That means globals are in the favor of Vitality, so they can look to force a fight in the coming minutes around that top lane once more to get Cabochard even further and further ahead.
I'm also just trying to think a couple of minutes forward if it remains even. Like, the Schalke teamfight comp is insane.
It's really good.
As long as you protect these two carries in the back, they will just destroy the Vitality front line very, very quickly. And the main engage is still Cabochard diving in. You can actually interrupt that if you have a strong front line yourself, like a Maokai.
Yeah, you can, but it's so difficult when there's 4 people from Vitality diving onto your face. Even Attila is fairly long range, so it will be a battle between the frontliners, the divers on Vitality's side, to see whether or not they can actually catch Nukta.
All right, Amazing's got flash available to him, and can he get out? All right, Keeper's Verdict comes down. There's a teleport being channeled by Vitality. Visit Chachi throws down the Nature's Grasp. There's no support around. This tower may go down, and Tower First Blood picked up solo by Cabochard.
Yeah, that was bound to happen at some point after all the attention towards the top lane. Cabochard, Black Cleaver already ready to try and deal with what armor Vizicachi is going to stack.
At this tempo of fight, Deficio, I think you could play-by-play it. Cabochard and Vizicachi.
A lot of faith put in my play-by-play there.
I believe in you, Deficio. Jack Troll not going to be able to find the heroic charge there to upset, but tower advantage, gold advantage to Vitality, and Cabochard plus 20 CS in the top lane.
And right now, Vitality got that pressure in the bottom lane, so I was curious to see whether or not they were going to walk into the Dragon Pit. Instead, Kikis just putting down some deep vision to try and spot out Amazing and make sure that in the coming minutes, when they want to go for this objective, it will be a bit easier.
Yeah, we need to see what Cabochard wants to do with his advantage. Once you take top lane turret, what you normally want to do is after you then push the wave past a dead tier 1 tower, you start roaming towards the mid lane, and you then force the enemy mid laner to leave his turret, and you secure a second objective. Because that's the most important thing as a fed top laner, is snowball your advantage to other lanes.
Especially on something like the Kled with that go button that can instantly engage either mid lane or bottom lane. That mid lane tower, remember, after the last time he took that ultimate mid, is so low, so there's definitely room for them to make a play and try to shut down Nukta.
And it's kind of out for Schalke at the moment, because they have this very defensive build on the AD carry. Iceborne, Gauntlet, and Tier, so he's not at a point where he really wants to fight. He's not a huge threat right now, and that makes it a bit harder to play on bottom side.
And I think compositionally, too, Schalke are never looking quite as much to force plays with the Cassiopeia and the Ezreal. You want to play back in fights, try to kite as much as you can, and then once you whittle down that front line enough, that's when you can find those moments to turn it around.
All right, bit of damage onto Nuke Duck. He's actually taunted up under the turret, trying to push forward. Petrifying Gaze just onto the back of Jizuke, as of course Vizicachi made his way out.
And let's follow Cabochard now. He's gotten a lot of time to push his wave. He will take this one down. Will he stay and hit the turret? Or will he just swap with Chachi in the mid lane and put pressure on Nuke Duck? And it is looking like a roam, but then obviously Chachi ends up just stepping in his way. Cabochard, however, now is suddenly a threat. Nuke Duck, he will get the information from Chachi. Cabochard is on his way, and then Nuke Duck has to be passive. Look, he's already behind his turret.
Yeah, you'll notice Kikis works so well with his lanes that have priority. So as soon as Cabochard gets that advantage, they push in, ward inside the Schalke jungle, then go for another objective. He just did this 2 minutes ago around that Infernal Drake. It was the same exact plan where they put down the vision, got the objective, and it's getting Vitality these small but consistent wins.
And it's so important, like, also in solo queue, if you are a top laner who's winning, you getting a couple of extra hits on a tier 2 turret is actually not a great way to continue snowballing your lead. You, however, leaving your lane, getting a Rift Herald, getting a mid lane turret, that's how you suddenly get yourself further ahead and your teammates with you. So Cabochard is obviously using his advantage right now to perfection, and that's what you want to see.
And I would love to see Cabochard actually go down into the bottom lane right now, although it looks like Jizuke is going to be going down there, which fills a very similar role. I feel because their outer turret has been taken down fairly low, you want to send a split pusher down there that can wave clear and then rotate to the core of your team now, which is Attila and Jack Troll, who will be in the mid lane.
Zed will secure the turret. He's been working on this for a while. It's going to be cool to see how Schalke places their carries now. You obviously want to farm all 3 lanes. Both Ezreal and Cassiopeia kind of want to sit mid lane. You're not both allowed to do it because then you leave one lane empty. Most likely, we will see Nukeduck try and match Jizuke on the bottom side, and that's when the lane ganks from Cabochard can happen.
All right, we'll keep an eye on whether or not Cabo can actually get any kills. Both of those carries, Deficio, completed their second items now, so Mirror Mana, Rylai's Crystal Scepter. If you look at the itemization down bottom, Vitality making their way to second items as well, and Chachi still thrift shopping. Got a good mixture, yeah, Negatron Cloak, Chain Vest, Kindle Gem, so he's waiting to upgrade. And I think once Schalke get a few more items in their back pocket, maybe they'll be willing to fight. And as it stands, Vitality grouping up mid, they're throwing down the Rift Herald as well.
Exactly, they just pushed out both side lanes. Nukeduck and Chachi are not here, so they can get one turret and then look for another big charge on that inner tower as they want more and more damage.
All right, Jack Troll manages to get a stun onto Vander. There's a charge down the mid lane, but it's a fight on multiple fronts. Chachi has already used that Nature's Graph. Shelly manages to tag the tower. Kled and Skull all
Nukeduck
down. But take a look at this. Here comes Nukeduck flanking from the side. Chilling Smite onto Jack Troll as well as the Arcane's Bramble Smash. All of a sudden, Schalke 5-3.
Every time Vitality attacks, Schalke are right there. It's 20 minutes on the clock. They're pinging to move towards this Baron buff right now. Schalke are turning it around in the face of Vitality.
Well, do you remember how Schalke beat Splice with a mid lane fight, with a collective roam? Let's see if Schalke can do it again. 5-man stack onto the Baron. Kickers has Flash and Smite available to him. Baron's down to 5,000. Can Baron get turned? Vitality need to try set up a steal.
That's
the
teleport.
Hero's Hindrance is available. Teleport coming in. Jizuke jumps in for the taunt. Where is the Baron secure?
Oh!
By Schalke. All of a sudden, that's Jizuke down. They turn their attention to Kickers. Schalke are in control of the game.
Once more, Schalke around a Baron, secure it in the face of Kikis. This happened before when Vitality lost their only game of the second half of the split, and Schalke punished them once again.
Yeah, we have to see that mid lane fight because Vitality, they were only looking for kills right there. They didn't actually think, is this the correct setup? They end up using the Kleddle kind of on his own in the mid lane. Some of the other guys are coming from the side, and Schalke, they were ready with the defense.
It was a disjointed engage that we're not used to seeing with Vitality. Usually it's just pile up on one member and make it happen, but you notice it starts with Jack Troll over on the side who finds Vander, even though Vitality could have just gotten the tower and backed away. But while Jack Troll's engaging down here, Cabo's going on the top half of the fight and gets picked off almost immediately.
Yeah, he was hoping to get around the corner so he can join the rest of his team near the Raptor camp, but he wasn't allowed because the Kleddle obviously just pulls him towards the champion.
And that was so good from Nukeduck as well, entering that fight late, but late is better than never. He had rotated down from bottom side and cleaned up house.
And this really fits in with the story of, can Schalke match the Vitality early game? The answer in game 1 is yes. They've been able to go even, trade kills for kills against them. And the first big fight with this very strong 5-on-5 team fight comp, Schalke win it.
All right, let's see whether or not Schalke can continue that. Chachi's going to try and make it back to the tower. Nature's Grasp is buying so much time. Flash is available to him. The rest of Schalke are pushing in the mid. That's a defensive flash. Chachi's caught by their trap on. A rope pulled backwards by Skarl. Now Cabochard is joined by 3 more members of Vitality. Gets a pin into the wall. Throws down the sapling, but it's at the cost of a tower. Vitality, they can't even get the bottom.
When Vitality fall behind, they look to force engagements, but it takes way too long onto a Maokai. He tanks it forever. Now Schalke are on the inhibitor turret in this middle lane. It's falling apart at the seams.
Unbelievable. Vitality commit for the kill, and Schalke take the base. That's 2-3 towers that they've managed to pick up. Ladies and gentlemen, choo-choo! The year of Nukeduck is arriving, and it is on his 18th unique champion. Yes, we have run out of space on this graphic. He continues to do it, and it was his flank in the middle that turned it around. Now the year of the duck. He's being focused down and caught and taunted. Not killed yet. Cleanse manages to escape. Stand United keeps him alive. Cabochard continues to run for his life. Upset goes forward. There comes the root. Vizichachi goes forward to the Bramble Smash. He's tanking up the tower, and Schalke aren't done with the siege. Continuing to throw out Mystic Shot after Mystic Shot. Upset hunting for Kickers. Forced to turn back into the fight, and it ended up being a 1-for-1 in the top lane.
The fights take so long because these front lines are so beefy, but Vitality hold on. They don't lose any more other than that one inhib tower in the mid lane, but they're now down 5,000 gold after a pretty rough couple of minutes.
Let's see the replay here from top side. Attila's ulti still on cooldown, so he's missing a key CC. Nukeduck takes a bunch of damage. He actually gets knocked back by Jack Troll himself, and that gets him out of danger.
And it's the Stand United that saves Nukeduck. If Nukeduck goes down, Vitality can keep charging forward. As it is, you can see Attila does some pretty good damage at this point in the game, but he needs a lot of time to stack up the Ginsus onto that front line.
Well, it's really important to highlight, and we saw it in this fight as well, like, the Vitality draft in 5-on-5 is not that easy to execute. Yeah, Nukeduck, all he had to do was run, and then his AD carry was like, I'm not getting touched, I can just keep shooting at people, and Upset has done this a lot in playoffs. He's late game team fighting. It's been great.
And on this Ezreal pick, he received a lot of flack, I think, in the last series against Splice, but this was his best champion by far during the regular season. He was so adept at team fighting on this pick, and now that we see Schalke aiming for an earlier game time, it's really paying off for them.
So we know with the Schalke draft that you can look to kite back with Nukeduck and Upset here on Ezreal. On the side of Vitality, in order to get the proper engage, it feels like a flank is necessary from Capuchat. Because if he ults in front of Schalke, he goes straight into Visichachi. And then you're just hitting the front line, which is a massive Maokai at this point. And that's not the way for Vitality to win. They must reach the back line. And I feel like Capuchat must find the flank.
And you must find Upset. That's the most important, because this is such a difficult champion to try and lock down. They're trying onto Amazing.
Let's find out. Amazing forced to flash for his life. Nukeduck was sent flying by the Keeper's Verdict. Upset continues to run away. Amazing is still alive. Nukeduck holds onto his flash for now, and the fight is turned around. Jazuka and Jack Troll are so incredibly low. Upset remains untouched. Nukeduck is looking for an option, looking for an answer. Low, every single shot is finding its target. Upset finds the kill. It's the man we were talking about, and it's going to open up another tower.
Upset is a beast on this champion. He's looking for another. It's close there with the True Shot Barrage, but more and more structures go the way of Schalke.
We just saw it again. It does not matter, even if you get the perfect engage onto Amazing under a turret. If you do not get to the two carries in the back, you're going to lose. Here's the TP. They're going for the back line.
All right, but can they get there quickly enough? Amazing's coming over from the wall. Visichachi's going very low. The teleport from Vandal, the Stand United rather, was cancelled. It's a 1-for-1. Top 4 support. That's a fantastic taunt. Turning it around. Vandal locks up Vitality, and Vitality are stunned by Schalke.
And it's up to the line. It's not over. It's not over. Oh my God! That was incredible. Cabochard holds on with the last of his breath, but it's Upset who reigns supreme at the end of the day.
I cannot find the words. There is too much going on. 29 kills, 26 minutes. Upset and Cabo to finish that out is the perfect summary of this game.
And this is only game 1.
Oh, man.
We're already getting this. Attila tried in the very end to snipe Upset, but he just sidestepped, and of course he couldn't go down.
This fight by Schalke is brought to you by Issa Predator, because it is fantastic.
And Vitality know now is the time to force, but watch Nukeduck and Upset. Who's getting hit? It's not them. Nukeduck is dishing out the damage on the backline. Vitality are focusing the wrong members, and by the time they get Nukeduck, it's still not enough to come away with the fight.
So much credit to Vander right there for the taunt, because just when the carries were about to get caught, he goes in. Let's see what happens.
It's a remount. So much HP there on Cabo, and he's just one auto attack away. He needs it. But Upset life steals with one auto, then jumps back forward into the minion wave. It's incredible.
So I've said this many times before, and I will say it again. Kled is one of my all-time favorite champions to cast because of the interaction with Skull, because of the spell names, and because of the exciting way that he plays out. Now Cabo has to find that flank because Upset is wrecking Vitality.
Yeah, and this is one of my all-time favorites, game 1s in a best of 5. Vitality are trying, but it's so hard for them. We keep seeing in these fights, Nukeduck's flash and cleanse is ready. Upset's cleanse is also there, so you don't even need one CC, you need more to actually lock them down.
We said it was a battle of dive versus disengage. No, it's a battle between Cabochard and Upset at the moment. The last fight was absolutely on a knife's edge, and now we're looking for another.
All right, let's see what Schalke can do. Baron is up and alive. Keeper's verdict has been used. There goes the charge. Upset is now on the wrong side of the rift, trying to get away. Stand United will buy some time. He manages to arcane shift for
He's doing it!
Jizuke's already down. Now Attila flashes over the wall. He's looking to hunt him down. Take a look at the Mystic shot. Turns it back around. So much damage onto Attila. Attila now needs to be shut down, but a brilliant taunt from Vanda once again. Take a look at the follow-up. Schalke are a little unsure. Nuke things out. The poison of the Twin Fangs. He kills Attila. He kills Jizuke. And the last man standing is Kickers. It is only a matter of time. Schalke ace Vitality.
And this game shows why Upset is the all-pro AD carry in the EU LCS. What a performance. Everyone looks to kill him, and he kites and kites and kites on his own. So suddenly the rest of Schalke get time to kill all of Vitality.
Absolutely fantastic from him. He has the Stand United to keep him safe and get the first kill down onto Jizuke, but he absorbs so many resources. The full engage there from Vitality. Attila is forced to use his flash, and he still almost takes him down. At this point, there's not enough DPS, there's not enough health left on the side of Vitality, so Nukeduck can re-enter and clean up house.
That's almost the worst part for Vitality. They finally kill the AD carry. There is a soon-to-be 4-item Cassiopeia, who's also just going to kill you in a few seconds.
Nukeduck just got the Rabadons on top of Void Staff and the Rylays. You can't escape this guy, and he's got way too much damage to deal with.
And it's just important when we take a step back and look at the entire game to remember Vitality put so much focus on getting Capuchat ahead. But once they grouped for the first time and looked for a fight in the mid lane, they were split. Capuchat ended up on the other side. The team wasn't there to help him, and they lost that fight at 20 minutes into a very early Baron. And then it doesn't matter how much you did in the early game because it gets really difficult to play the game.
And mid-game fighting was actually something that plagued Vitality at the start of the split. They'd find a lot of early leads, but then take poor fights, very similar to what we saw a few moments ago.
And there's one thing you do not want to see when you click tap. It's your Varus is on 2 items, a QSS and a bit of AP. And the enemy AD carry is on 4 items. It is impossible for Attila right now to be a carry on the side of Vitality. They only really get damage from Jizuke and Capuchat in these team fights. And that should not be enough.
Well, it hasn't been yet. I had an inkling that this might have been the most kills Schalke have picked up in a single game, and I can confirm that it is. The previous record that this team had set was 19 kills in 48 minutes against G2 Esports, and now they've already got 21 in 30, and all of the questions around early game, team fighting, ability to go blow for blow with Vitality has set us up well.
Exactly. This has answered some questions. We knew Schalke could win late game team fights if they got there. We've seen this in this game here. But can they match the early game of Vitality? And so far it's a yes, and that is why Schalke are winning.
Yeah, and Attila was top lane trying to grab some minions for his next item, but Schalke walked it down mid. They almost got that inhibitor. It's still very, very low, but as the second Nukeduck shows up, they should be able to take it down.
Keep your eyes on the gold difference. It's roughly 7,000 gold for now. Schalke still have a minute and a half of that Baron buff, and they will take the middle inhibitor. Got themselves some supers, going to be barreling down the lane. I'm looking at the mini-map, though. The other lanes haven't yet been ushered all the way to Vitality's base, so Schalke have got to back away, establish that vision. You can see Amazing already catching that bottom lane and rotating the rest of the squad there.
And you can see they're not trying to waste any time here by going back for that Cloud Drake. They have the Baron buff for a little while longer. They're going to use it for all it's worth. Right now, Vitality, again, are in a situation where their tower is very low, and they may be looking to find a fight as they try to clear these minions.
Look at the damage. Upset is already chunking down some of the tankier members of Vitality. The tower will go down without any real contest. Baron empowered cannon minion will help knock over that final shot, and Amazing just threatening the Impale, zoning Vitality away.
Yeah, and both summoners are available for the Ezreal. They just can't get onto him. You get the first CC, he cleanses and jumps out, and then you do not kill him in time. We kept saying this, like, Vitality's draft is not that great at hard engaging onto Schalke unless they get a flank, but you can't get a flank when you're in your own base.
I mean, you just gotta go. You just gotta go at this point. You've lost 2 inhibitors now. You're not gonna be clearing minion waves. Schalke are gearing up to knock down these Nexus turrets, and they channel the Predator to go in.
Oh, listen to this. The Vitality fans here in Berlin are looking for one final fight, but it may not be enough. Keeper's verdict sends out Schalke, but there's no further follow-up. Baron buff has timed out, and the Nature's Grasp is now going to zone Vitality away. Keep your eyes on Upset. He's at 50% HP. Takes down the first Nexus tower. Starts to back out. First Schalke member down. Here's a Visit Chachi. There's the turnaround to Upset. He's already used Cleanse and used the Flash. So far, it's a kill onto Attila. There's a follow-up from Vander. 3 members down. Nuke Duck is just tearing Vitality apart. The Nexus turret is the focus, and Schalke are striking first in their semi-final, taking Vitality down.
Schalke have come to play. They're not going to lay down in the early game. They are going to take it to Vitality blow for blow and not look phased at all. They are ready for a good series.
And this is the thing for Vitality. They've spent 2 weeks preparing for this game. 2 weeks figuring out a draft. They had side selection game 1. They went with red side. They had a plan. We steal the Poppy away. We try and force Amazing on a Sejuani. He didn't pick it. He went for the Skarner instead, and it was very successful in the early game. And Vitality didn't get the lead they were looking for.
Schalke just changing their draft too was so interesting to me because it blew away our expectations. They banned the Rise away from themselves. They didn't go for that Sejuani, and they still pop off Upset on the Ezreal as well. It wasn't the Kai'Sa that worked so well. It's the Ezreal he's been so good on all split.
He just needs to stay alive in the early game, and he did.
Well, the game wasn't really played around him a whole lot, you know.
So he stayed alive.
Exactly. But listen, what does this mean for the rest of the series? We'll have to find out later. Schalke and Vitality, they are playing today. Misfits against Fnatic tomorrow. And all 4 of these teams are guaranteed to be in Madrid. You can get your tickets for the EU LCS finals if you check out the links below. eu.lollysports.com/Madrid. And we also have cinema viewing parties in 30 countries across Europe. So go watch with a whole bunch of your friends. eu.lollysports.com/cinemas for more information. I'm going to find out whether or not the analyst desk is ready in just a moment or two, but this definitely sets us up well. We may need another play-by-play because if this is the tempo of games...
I'll step in for you, man. It's okay.
I almost lost my voice in that first game. We're going to hear what the analyst desk has to say. Over to you, Shox.
Thank you so much, Quickshot. Well, we do have a lot to talk about. We do have a lot to talk about, as that was a very telling, I think, first game that certainly for me dispelled a lot of notions I had about either team. So as we get into this, I would like to look at the keys to victory for Schalke that we came up with before the series. I asked you guys, and then we're going to compare them against what actually happened. Vedius, what does have to happen for Schalke in an ideal scenario to beat Vitality?
So Colin and I were talking a lot about how we think Upset is one of the big people you have to enable. Funnily enough, in this game, I felt like it kind of was. But the other big thing that we felt was important was they had to control Kikis. Now, they could have potentially done that in the draft. Maybe in game, they just try and focus on preventing him from having strong lanes that he can play around and utilize. But it felt like, I think we both agreed that they didn't really do much coming into the game to kind of limit what Kikis likes to do.
No, what I want to say though about the jungle matchup, we said is very favored towards Kikis, but you don't actually have to control Kikis if you just bring the same level of aggression to the table. And I think that's really what I took out of this game, is that Schalke looked like a completely different team from what we saw in the quarterfinal. They were proactive in the early game. They were looking to match their aggression, and I think that really put them in a good place for the game.
I agree. That was a big surprise to me, at least. Let's take a look at the picks and bans and how they maybe set themselves up for success. You already said it. Not a bad champion for Kikis, a great champion for Kikis, his most successful one, in effect, in Trundle. So did you see anything in the composition of Schalke that made you think before the game, okay, they were looking to shut him down?
Not necessarily. I think what I want to take away from the draft is that it really showcased the kind of styles that we are working with. Schalke, on one hand, very focused on playing a slow and controlled game and being strong in team fights at like 20-25 minutes. And on the other hand, Vitality sometimes pulls triggers like this, like, for example, the Klett, where it's a game more on executing split push and being strong in the 1v1, because Visachi is known for playing mostly tanks. So the draft made sense on both sides, but execution was the problem, I think.
Is this an ambitious plan from Vitality in a game 1?
So for me, no. I think you do have best of 5 and you can adapt as the series goes on. But to me, it looked like that they do what they often do, which is utilize their strong flexibility in the draft, and because they love flex pick and they love the ability to just swap things around. And we even heard the casters talking a lot about Poppy, jungle, Trundle, support. Like, the fact that they could do this so much meant that, to me, it felt like they wanted to keep Schalke on their toes, and they had what they wanted, which was a strong winning top matchup that Kickers could play around, which they did very well. They wanted to try and put Chachi behind and then look to play through that lane. They had an even matchup bot, and they didn't have a losing matchup mid, and Galio could roam around as well. So to me, it felt very Vitality in terms of the draft.
Very Vitality, and Schalke also felt very Schalke, and there was nothing to indicate how crazy this early game was going to be, I think, out of pick cements from Schalke side specifically, but that is what happens. So let's take a look at a couple of replays. We talked about keeping Kickers down, or matching Kickers, sorry, controlling Kickers, is what Schalke had to do, and
So
that's exactly what they
For
did.
me, in this clip, this is just a big mistake from Jisuke, honestly. This should never happen, that you walk into the Skarner river when you know that he's in the river and you just decides to suicide. This should not happen, obviously. And we see the one thing I point out, that we see Schalke is fighting Vitality early. They're not afraid of taking fights. They're not afraid of fighting back when Vitality is showing aggression. And that for me was the core problem for Vitality in the early game.
And I think it all comes off this. It all comes off the back of this Skarner pick for Amazing. That guy was definitely lifting in the early game. He was just way more proactive. Stats told me that he matched his highest kills plus assists at 15 minutes that he'd gotten from the regular split in this single game. So it was pretty impressive what he was able to pull out, and it was just to do with the fact that he went for Skarner over Sejuani, which is something that he would usually go for during the regular season. So,
and actually, I really like this because Skarner historically as a champion that kind of does it all. It's it's very safe in a way. It can do stuff in the early game, but doesn't necessarily need to be. It's kind of even out in majority of the game, and it fits him well. Like you can farm the jungle, or you can look for ganks, and he sets up his teammates to succeed, and that was really what came through. But one point I think we haven't touched too much is I think Vitality just heavily misplayed their composition. We look at 20 minutes, one of the team fights in the game, where I don't know if we will see the replay.
Yeah, we'll actually take a look at it right now that led into the Baron.
What happened is that they literally just ran it down mid as 5 and looked for a fight. And with a composition like this, where you have the Kled, who at this point was very, very far ahead of the Maokai and can look to play over side lane and either look to dive the Maokai or look to out-rotate and force the fight this way around. For me, this was just the breaking point in the game. Like if you draft this way, you need to be able to play to your strengths in the game, and I felt like they just heavily misplayed.
I completely disagree with Cole. You know, we want to celebrate Schalke, and I think that it's worth highlighting how well Amazing played in the late game team fights, how good job Amazing did in terms of early pressure, but it all came down to that one big mistake that Vitality did, which was that they ran it down mid.
So
and
you do agree with him?
Yeah, exactly.
You said you disagree.
No,
with
sorry,
him.
I meant to say that I do completely agree
How
with
can
him,
you
right?
not agree with
Yeah,
that?
how can you not agree with
I completely agree with my analyst on the left here,
Okay.
and what I think is surprising is that the last time they played, Vitality executed a really good 1-3-1 with the Rise in a side lane, and they completely divided Schalke, and they didn't know how to answer. Whereas this game, when they should have just played the same way, they instead just grouped mid and tried to fight. And they were playing into the win condition of Schalke, and this is one of Schalke's biggest strengths. So I hope moving into the rest of the series, Vitality will recognize their win conditions, maybe put Jizuke on the split push rather than Cabo, and then we should be able to better see these, or just build a team fight.
Yeah, a couple of takeaways for me is that Schalke's willingness to skirmish early and to match kickers and to just take those fights that I think they wouldn't have taken in the past and in other games is huge for this series. And on the other hand, it is also, for me, made the seed of doubt come back when it comes to Vitality's mid-game when they are not miles ahead. This is something that we thought they had banished, that they had a couple of problems with in the beginning of the summer split as well, Cold. Is this reason for concern for Vitality fans?
I mean, this game is like Vitality in a nutshell in the spring split. Solid early game. They have the tools to win the game, but then they just play completely wrong, in my opinion. What I want to say, though, even though on paper this looks like, why do they draft Kled, you know? Like, we haven't seen this champion too much. I actually like the idea of it, because if you end up winning this game, it's going to be so much harder for a guy like Vizusachi to blind pick stuff in the top lane, because we know the ability Cabochard has to push these champions like Kled. I'm sure we've seen the Lucian in the past. He is very diverse in his champion pool. So I like the initial idea. I think a core champion in it was also the Shen, who with the ultimate can kind of make the defensive plays on the side lanes. And I think this champion should have more value in the draft going forward.
Yeah, also protecting anything that Vitality wants to throw at you. One final thing I want to highlight is the AD carry Upset, who we've been talking a lot about in the last couple of weeks. He came up huge also today, and I just loved it. He talked last week after their victory over Splice about how it took a bit of time for him to get into kind of the vibe of the best of 5 to perform his best. Here, from game 1, he brings it on a signature champion.
I was really impressed with Upset. We did announce our all-pro team today, and he was the top 80 carry. And some people threw out question marks, some people wondering if it was deserved. And it's performances like this that kind of provide support as to why so many people voted for him. People know of his potential, and it's great to see as well in this matchup where Ezreal is a strong mid-game champion. You know you're going to be fighting Vitality a lot. I think he better showcase what things he can do on the champion in this kind of
solid graph on the damage.
Yeah, pretty good for him. Guys, if Vitality want to win the next game, what is the one thing they need to start with?
I mean, just reset yourself. It's only one game. They had a clear idea of how they wanted to execute the game. I think they didn't, obviously, and that's why they lost. So I think either you go into the game and you match the team fight presence that Schalke is bringing to the table, or you try this again. I don't think it was necessarily a bad plan. I think it's quite off meta, and maybe if you think you are the better team, you just match overall like what you can do in the game, and then you will just win out the game. But I think we will probably see a different Vitality, but I hope they show same level of aggression in the early game.
Let's see as we go to break, because the players are setting up and we'll be ready in just a couple of minutes. One final touch on the predictions. You guys didn't get to see it in Ready Check, but they were on Twitter already. I voted for Vitality. Vedius voted for Schalke. The
Remind me,
fans
Cold,
voted for Schalke.
what was your scoreline for Vitality?
We don't talk about it.
3-0. So Cold's already out of the race, but he can still get the final prediction
I said it at the start,
correct.
though. I'm just a player.
And Vedius is starting to give off this gloating glow.
It's only game 1. It's only game 1. We'll see.
We'll keep track of that. And with that win, Schalke, they are looking to make history and qualify for the ELCS Summer Final. Meet us back here for game 2 right after this.
There's a chance